Good morning everybody and welcome to Visit Fylde Coast. I say good morning, it's just gone 9:30 and we are off on our way to Blackpool. So while you enjoy the scenery and the view, I thought we would have an amusing little look at the world of travel sickness cures. So as we set off from Cleveleys for our morning's drive, don't forget, make sure that you've subscribed to the Visit Fylde Coast YouTube channel. Make sure that you've hit the little bell for notifications. Don't forget to give this video a like, and you can also as well sign up for your weekly Visit Fylde Coast email newsletter. If you just go to the website, you'll find the link on there on the front page. So, it's a lovely sunny morning, but the wind is actually blowing from kind of the north and the east direction. So I'm anticipating that this lovely blue sky is going to disappear to be replaced by cloud. I've got my fingers crossed it's not going to do. So travel sickness is something which blights many people's lives. And in fact, it's blighted my life. Bump. These are the famous Anchor's speed bumps. It's blighted my life from being a tiny little child. And in fact, driving is the only thing really that I would say actually does cure it, certainly for me anyway. But I thought we'd start at the beginning. We've got about, quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, depending on the traffic. So I thought we'd start at the beginning and we would share an amusing journey and look at some different cures that I've tried over the years and see whether you've tried any of them and whether you've got any others to suggest. So let's go back right to the mists of time, to when I was a little girl at my mother's knee in, it would be the early 1970s, wouldn't it? When I was a little girl. And like most people, we didn't have a car at the time. So everywhere we went, we had to go either on service transport, as in a service bus or a train, or we went day tripping on coaches, or sometimes we went on train trips. They were nice. But wherever we went, you could guarantee that I would end up feeling sick. I've no idea when it started. I think it was when we went to my godmother's, who lived probably about quarter of an hour bus ride away, and my dad took me, and I ended up, I don't think I was actually sick, but I felt very sick. This is the longest light stop, this. It all depends on whether or not you catch the tram, because if the tram's coming across the junction, you're sitting here ages waiting, and I can't see a tram, so it looks like we're alright for a minute. So I've no idea how old I was when he took me, because I can't remember for the life in me that journey. I can remember a lot of them, but not that one. So I got to my godmother's looking a strange shade of green round the gills, and that was it. That sort of marked the start of the decline. So everywhere I went, excuse me, I'm going to cough. I'm still coughing. Everywhere I went, I would either vomit or feel incredibly ill. And if you can remember the old service buses that that were like rattle cans, they weren't like today's modern buses by any stretch of the imagination. They were rattly and noisy, and you could feel the engine all the way through the bus, especially if you were sat at the back. And then in winter, when everybody got on in coats, and particularly when it's raining, when everybody's damp, everything steamed up and got really sort of warm. Summer, they were like a sweat can. No such thing as any kind of ventilation. You either opened the little window and did your best for a tiny little breeze, or you sweated. It was kind of your lot. So the combination of the motion and the smell and the heat and the people, and woe betide if you got to stand up. Goodness me, that just put the lid on it. So my darling mother started doping me up on travel sickness tablets. And the one I particularly remember taking was Dramamine, and I think you can still buy them. I'm sure I've seen them in the chemists. And there's another one I think called Joyrides. There's various different ones, but the if I'm not wrong, they're a type of antihistamine. And anybody that suffers from hay fever will know that antihistamines knock you out. They're like, well, practically sleeping tablets. So everywhere we went, I had to take a travel sickness tablet before we set off, about half an hour to an hour before you set off. And then away you went. And well, did they work? That's a good question. What do you think, people? Do you think that travel sickness tablets work? I can't say that they particularly worked. So that kind of went on until I got to being a teenager. And as teenagers do, obviously I wanted to be off and out with my mates all the time. So I was a frequent flyer on the local bus service. My friend lived a short bus ride away. So we were constantly on a bus, and I think keep going on a bus sort of helped settle that dislike. And I must admit, I still didn't enjoy buses, but doing lots of short, frequent hops did help, and it did kind of settle the nausea. But I remember when we were in the last year at primary school, going to a local outdoor education centre called Scout Dyke. If I remember rightly, I think it's at Penistone. And we went to a reservoir to look at water treatment and water cycles and whatnot. Another rainy day, so there's this little minibus. The seats there were benches that went down the long edge of the minibus, packed full with a class full of kids, all in blue cagoules that were all wet and damp and steaming. And I've never felt as ill in my life as I did when I got off that bus. It just really stuck in my mind. And the teacher stood there and she said, "Oh, it's an awful feeling, Jane. I know just how you feel. I used to be exactly the same. But when you learn to drive, that really makes a difference, because driving definitely helps." And I'm sat there thinking, I'm 10. How can you tell me that I need to learn to drive? I've got another 7 years of this misery, at least. Anyway, she was right, as it happened. And I did learn to drive at 17, and Chrissy and my dad bought a car. So that pretty much started to curtail my bus suffering. I'm cutting a very long story short here. There's a lot of sickness and spoilt clothes and bags with holes in the bottom. So that was that. Anyway, everything went swimmingly. Every year before we bought our property at Cleveleys, we used to go to Cornwall on holiday a lot. We used to go to Falmouth. And I don't know if you've ever been to Cornwall, But there's ever such a lot of winding, narrow roads and nice deep bankings and just the kind of thing that you don't like when you suffer from nausea. And even driving, I still felt travel sick. I was so glad to get back home. So when we came to live here, that was it. You can understand now. I mean, I've driven thousands of miles over the years, but you can understand now why I'm not partial to going, well, anywhere really, other than here. Another cough. So everything in the garden was peachy. Generally speaking, wherever we go, I always drive. I very rarely sit even in the front seat. My darling husband, T-boy in training, tends to drive on the brake, which also makes me feel a bit... and it kind of explains as well, a few people have commented that I drive quite smoothly. So that kind of explains why I drive smoothly, because otherwise I make myself feel sick. One thing I will just add at this point that I've discovered is a marvellous cure for travel sickness. Well, for sickness in general. Crystallised ginger. The stuff that you buy off the baking counter, they sell it in Poundlands and Home Bargains and whatnot. And you can get a little bag, like you buy chopped almonds and things like that. You can buy a little bag. So I have a little plastic mug pot thing with a screw lid that I keep in the car, and I tip a full packet into that, and I keep it in the door at the side of the driver. And you know, it's brilliant. I often reach for that when I feel sick. Not just for travel sickness, but any kind of nausea. It's really marvellous. So I would definitely recommend that. So then the other funny anecdote, and at this point I can feel Brenda and Keith starting to laugh, is a bus trip to Preston. Well, when I say a bus trip to Preston, it's not quite that bad. I think most of you know that I've chaired the Russell Beach residents and community group since it started, actually, which is about, 12, 13, 14 years. A long time. And we were nominated for and subsequently were awarded a Queen's Award for voluntary service. Now, that is the equivalent of an MBE, but for a group of people rather than one individual person. So when you get an MBE, you go to the palace and the Queen presents you with it, or one of the royal family presents you with your award. When you get a Queen's Award, the group goes to your nearest official place, which in our case is County Hall at Preston. And you go and you're awarded your award by the Lord Lieutenant of Lancashire, who is a gentleman called Shuttleworth. A very nice man he is too. So we'll hire a minibus and then we can all go together. Oh, I said that's not a good idea. I'm not keen on that. Oh, you'll be fine. I thought, well, I'm not sure. So we all trooped round to catch this minibus to drive off to Preston, and I only smelt it in the car park and the whiff of the diesel, and I thought, this is not a good idea. Anyway, I got into the minibus, held on to my stomach and trundled off to Preston. I just got there. So I dove out of the bus while the guy's parking it in the car park at County Hall. So then, coming back, I did feel quite green round the gills. Travel sickness is this funny thing that when you stop moving, it just evaporates and you feel a lot better. Coming back was a different matter. So the M55 motorway junction, as you come off onto the A585 to drive round to our end of the woods, I got to the junction, I go, stop the bus, I'm going to be sick. Oh, look, on your left, this is first signs of life for the work at the new multi-storey car park. Oh, things are happening, which will then set off the transformation of this whole area. And looking at the property straight across the road, I think that one is top of the list for needing it. Anyway, going back to me being sick. So the guy, if you know that junction, there's a petrol station and it's either a Starbucks or a Costa coffee takeaway place. So the guy pulled into the petrol station that was driving the bus, and I jumped out and went in the coffee shop. I think it's a Starbucks. Went in the coffee shop, got a coffee, sat down, rang Kevin, come and fetch me. So now you know why, folks. Now you know why I'm not jollying off all over the place. So if you've got any good tips for travel sickness, I'd appreciate it if you could drop them in the comments underneath. And then we'll share them. We'll share them with everybody else. Because yes, driving will be my number one remedy, followed by ginger, followed by stopping at home. And other than that, people, I've not really got much in the way of much of a remedy. So I hope you've enjoyed that little drive into Blackpool. As you can see, we have arrived at our destination. I'm looking for an end parking space. We like an end parking space. I think we need to go back round here, actually. We'll go back round here and park on the end of this one. Don't forget, make sure that you've subscribed, do the notifications, make sure that you've signed up for your email newsletter. And we'll see you in the next video. Is this an end one? Yes, it's an end one. Right, this one's mine. We'll see you in the next video. And don't forget, when you do come to Blackpool, you can use the app on your phone to pay, and it's a lot easier. We will see you next time. Bye for now.